The forbidden truth. Blue stood motionless at the observation window of the Galactic Council's vessel, his luminous silver skin reflecting the swirling blue-green orb that hung below Earth. For 20 Earth years, he had watched this world not just as an assignment, but with growing awe. What began as a passive surveillance mission had evolved into something deeper. Humans, in all their chaos and contradiction, had fascinated him. No other species had danced so close to self-destruction so many times and yet clawed their way back stronger. Behind him, a voice echoed down the curving corridor. "Senior Observer Blue, the emergency session has begun." Blue turned from the Earth reluctantly. Each step he took along the illuminated path sparked gentle pulses of light underfoot, a design of the Council's organic ships meant to soothe minds and encourage harmony. It didn't soothe Blue, not today. The Council chamber was a marvel of biology and engineering walls that breathed air, that pulsed with calm pheromones and a floating holographic map of the known galaxy in constant rotation. Around it stood beings from 100 species, clouds of gas, crystalline entities walking flora. At the center stood Head Observer White, tall and shimmering, like Mercury in motion. "We have a serious threat," White announced, gesturing toward the hologram. With a motion of their arm, a cluster of red lights expanded on the map, spreading fast. "The swarm has broken through our defensive lines in Sector 7. A hush swept through the room. Even the most stoic delegates murmured with unease. The swarm. Blue had read the reports, had seen the footage. No fleet had ever stopped them. They moved like a plague, consuming planets, stars, civilizations. A hive mind with no diplomacy, no warning, no mercy. "They're headed for the Sol system," White added grimly. The red trajectory line ended squarely at Earth. Blue's voice cut through the silence. "Then we must warn them." "No," said Observer Shit, her voice sharp. "Earth is classified as a Preon-tier civilization. Contact is forbidden. Their societies are fractured. Disclosure of extraterrestrial threats would shatter their cohesion. They deserve the chance to defend themselves," Blue snapped. "We've seen them overcome extinction-level threats, their own wars, environmental collapse, pandemics. They adapt. They fight back." White's gaze turned cool. "And those were internal conflicts. The swarm is different. Their technology is biological. Their ships evolved mid-battle. Earth's weapons are primitive. Nuclear arms, combustion engines. They still burn fossil fuels. Yet they survived everything they've inflicted upon themselves," Blue said, voice rising. "Their history is full of miracles born from disaster. They unify when pushed." Red crossed her arms. "You're too emotionally attached, Blue. You've been watching them too long." Blue turned to the Council, speaking with the unusual fire for a species known for logic. "In 20 years of observation, I've learned this: where we see emotion as weakness, they use it to create resolve. Where we seek order, they turn chaos into innovation. They may be flawed, but they are not helpless." The Council chamber fell silent. Finally, White spoke, voice like smooth water. "Our laws are clear. No contact, no interference. We will intercept the swarm before they reach Earth. If we fail, so be it. Earth is not our concern." Fail, Blue's voice cracked, not from fear, from rage. "The nearest Council fleet is 8 weeks away. The swarm will reach Earth in 6. You're condemning them." "No, we're following protocol." Blue stared at the hologram, the planet he had come to admire, perhaps even love. Children were playing, scientists were experimenting, artists were painting, and none of them knew what was coming. "I won't let them die in the dark," he said. White's eyes narrowed. "You would break Council law, risk exile." Blue turned, straightened his back, and said softly, "Some things are more important than rules." Without waiting for approval or punishment, he walked out of the chamber. Behind him, alarms began to blare. Unauthorized movement, unsanctioned shuttle launch. He didn't care. He had made his choice. Within minutes, Blue's ship detached from the Council cruiser, its stealth field shimmering into place as it slipped into hyperspace bound for Earth. As stars stretched into streaks outside his viewport, Blue's hands trembled. Not from fear of what the Council would do to him, but from fear he had waited too long. He opened a private transmission channel, one the Council didn't know existed. The signal would arrive at Earth in minutes. He took a deep breath, looked into the camera, and began recording. The warning: the United Nations Security Council had never been this silent. The main assembly hall, usually filled with the low murmur of simultaneous translations and diplomatic formalities, had frozen in stunned disbelief. All eyes stared at the center of the room where a tall silver figure floated inches above the floor, encased in a shimmering field of light. Observer Blue. He had chosen this place, the only forum on Earth where all nations were represented, and he had bypassed every defense system on the planet to get there. People of Earth Blue, began his voice steady and calm, translated instantly into every language. I apologize for this sudden appearance, but time is critical. My name is Blue. I'm a representative of the Galactic Council, and I have broken our laws to speak with you. Panic rippled through the room. Delegates fumbled with phones, translators shouted into earpieces, bodyguards reached for weapons. But one man stood still, calm, composed. General Nathaniel Stone, U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff, eyes locked onto Blue with the cold precision of a battlefield commander. What danger are we facing? Stone asked, voice quiet but sharp. Blue nodded. An enemy known as the Swarm is on its way to Earth. They are not conquerors, they are consumers. Biological, hive-minded. Entire star systems have fallen to them. Your planet is next. Blue raised a hand, and the air shimmered with holographic imagery. Giant insect-like vessels swarmed across the void of space, devouring planets, moon stations, anything organic or technological. Gasps filled the chamber. One diplomat fainted. Screens displayed the projected path Earth's solar system. Impact in 6 weeks. A wave of panic surged. We need to keep this secret. The public will lose their minds. We must evacuate where there's nowhere to go. Stone's voice cut through the chaos. Quiet. He turned back to Blue. Can you help us, weapons technology? My shuttle carries research equipment. Only, Blue replied. I can share data. Weaknesses. But the Council's nearest fleet is 8 weeks away. You will be alone when they arrive. General Li of the Chinese military rose. Then we fight with what we have, he said simply. Better to die standing than running. Blue's eyes flared with hope. That is why I came. As the room regained order, a shift occurred from fear to resolve. The spark had caught. If I may suggest, Blue continued, we focus on 3 priorities. 1, warn your people. Yes, there will be fear, but unity will only come with truth. 2, adapt your existing weapons with my knowledge. 3, begin immediate production of new defense systems based on hybrid technology. Stone nodded. Effective immediately, all international conflicts are suspended. We face extinction. Nothing else matters now. And just like that, Earth changed. Within hours, generals shared intelligence that had been state secrets for decades. Scientists uploaded years of black-budget research into shared databases. Engineers from rival nations began planning side by side. While political leaders debated press strategies, military leaders built battle plans. In a temporary secure room, Stone and Blue met alone for the first time. You risked everything to warn us, Stone said. Why? Blue paused. In 20 years, I watched your people overcome disease, war, famine, and each other. I saw cruelty, yes, but also compassion, creativity. You never give up. The Council calls it primitive. I call it inspiring. Stone allowed a small smile. We have a saying, where there's life, there's hope. That evening, the first global broadcast aired. Blue appeared on the screens across the planet, his message clear and direct. Images of the swarm followed. Scientists confirmed the data. Leaders stepped forward, not as presidents or prime ministers, but as fellow humans. And yes, panic erupted. Riots flared in major cities. Markets crashed. Airports flooded with people trying to flee nowhere. But something else happened too. The next morning, streets once choked with fear now bustled with volunteers. Blood banks overflowed, or retired soldiers reported back for duty. Old enemies shook hands. Around the world, unity, real unity, began to take shape. In Germany, a scientist uploaded a virus prototype designed to attack neural matrices meant for cancer, now repurposed for alien brains. In Brazil, drone factories shifted to autonomous defense units. In Kenya, engineers created power cells using solar tech enhanced by Blue's knowledge. In Japan, missile guidance systems were recalibrated for swarm movement prediction. Religious leaders from all faiths issued a joint message. This is not the time to fear. This is the time to become more than what we were. Blue stood in the UN's temporary command center and watched humanity rise. You thought the truth would destroy us, Stone said, reviewing a map of coordinated manufacturing efforts. But it brought us together. Blue nodded, his silver skin pulsing faintly. The Council never believed a developing world could achieve unity, but they never studied humans the way I have. Stone looked at him, eyes narrowed. Then let's prove them all wrong. Earth's first stand. The skies turned black at dawn. In New York, London, Tokyo, and Nairobi, people looked up and saw the stars vanish behind living shadows. Swarm ships, massive and organic, descended like a plague of giant insects. Their dark, oily shells shimmered with iridescent color, a beauty that belied the terror they carried. In the Rocky Mountains, beneath layers of concrete and steel, Commander Stone stood inside the Global Defense Command Center, watching radar screens light up like Christmas trees, each blip a ship, each ship a death sentence. They sent more than expected, Blue said, his tone tight with alarm. Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. Stone didn't blink. Then we've got a bigger party than planned. His hand slammed down on a red-lit console. Operation Hornet's Nest is go. I repeat, execute all defense protocols. Across the world, humanity's trap was sprung. Hidden silos opened. Mobile launchers emerged from city parks. Satellite-guided missile batteries roared to life. And streaking toward the clouds came Earth's first true attempt at fighting back missiles enhanced with alien viral payloads. Blue had helped human scientists design a synthetic virus specifically to attack the swarm's biometal hulls. Upon contact, the virus spread like wildfire, devouring molecular bonds and triggering a chain reaction of structural collapse. And it worked. Over London, a dozen swarm fighters shattered in midair, raining sizzling chunks of alien flesh and metal into the Thames. In Mexico City, a Queen-class carrier exploded like a bursting fruit, viral flames licking across its hull. Cheers erupted in control centers. Civilians watching from shelter rooftops shouted in awe and fear. But the swarm adapted. They're secreting something, a biologist reported from the Pacific Defense Lab. A dark fluid, it's neutralizing the virus. In real time, Blue watched their defenses evolve. Ships that had once dropped from the sky now shrugged off direct hits. Others began using the wreckage of their fallen as cover, advancing with brutal cunning. They're not mindless, Blue whispered. They're learning. Then we hit them with something they haven't seen yet, Stone growled. Launch the drones. Around the globe, thousands of autonomous drones lifted off, each fitted with a miniature gravity generator, reverse-engineered from Blue's tech. These swarming machines were designed not to destroy, but to distort, pulling swarm ships off course, crashing them into buildings, terrain, or even each other. In Beijing, a swarm cruiser plowed into the side of a skyscraper, collapsing both in a cloud of fire. In New York, dozens of alien ships spiraled into the Hudson River, crushed by intersecting gravity wells. And in every city, humanity resisted hard. Modified tanks fired plasma rounds. Artillery pounded the sky. Fighter jets danced through swarms of alien drones, their new energy weapons slicing through armor like butter. Still, the tide was unrelenting. In Moscow, a battalion of swarm ground troops landed near the outskirts and began marching inward. 8 feet tall, grotesque and insectoid, they tore through walls and soldiers alike. Regular bullets barely slowed them down. Stone's voice roared over global comms. Use the plasma rifles. Stay mobile. Hit and run. Never go toe-to-toe. Then came the first breakthrough, and it didn't come from a weapon. Sir, a young officer in Moscow called in. We're seeing something weird. The swarm troops are freezing in the snow. They're shutting down. Stone's eyes widened. Patch me through to their commander. Within moments, footage appeared, swarm units twitching violently, their movements, sluggish carapaces cracking in sub-zero wind. Extreme cold disrupts their biology. Blue said, eyes shining. They're not adapted for Earth's temperature variations. Stone didn't hesitate. Spread the word. Arctic bases deploy cryoweapons. Southern Command go heat heavy. Hit their weaknesses. Make the planet your weapon. From Alaska to Antarctica, Earth's environment became a battlefield ally. In the Canadian wilderness, swarm beasts froze solid before they could reach a military installation. In Australia, solar-concentrated microwave weapons melted swarm tissue to black sludge. But it came at a cost. Cities burned, civilian casualties mounted, entire neighborhoods were reduced to rubble. The swarm gained footholds in South America and parts of Asia. For every alien ship destroyed, 3 more took its place. And yet, Earth held. Blue stood in the command center watching humanity refuse to fold. In most first contact scenarios, he said quietly, species fall apart. Your species is different. Stone didn't look up from his reports. We're too stupid to quit. A small laugh escaped Blue, not programmed, not learned, real. As the sun set on the first day of the invasion, the skies quieted. The swarm pulled back into orbit, regrouping. The battlefield fell silent, smoke rising like a shroud over civilization. Stone surveyed the map. A third of Earth's hybrid weapons were gone. Thousands dead, cities scarred. But Earth was still here. We made them bleed, he muttered. Blue nodded. And they'll come back. Then we'll be ready, Stone replied, with something they never saw coming. Songs from the deep. Evelyn Wells hadn't slept in 72 hours. Her makeshift lab, once the ballroom of a Pacific cruise liner, now resembled a war zone of cables, microscopes, broken coffee mugs, and alien tissue samples. Outside, waves slapped against the ship's reinforced hull as scientists from every continent worked shoulder to shoulder, desperate to decode the swarm's biology before it was too late. "Doctor, you need to see this," her assistant shouted from across the room, eyes wide behind smudged glasses. Wells stumbled over, brushing her tangled hair out of her face. On the screen, a vibrational graph readings from a sample of captured swarm hull tissue. The waveform pulsed erratically, violently, then suddenly collapsed into static. "What frequency did you hit it with?" she asked. "Whale song," the assistant replied. "Low-frequency vocalization from a blue whale recorded before the invasion. I matched the pitch and timing, and the sample tore itself apart." Wells froze. It didn't make sense. Or maybe it made perfect sense. "Play it again," she said. The sound was haunting. Long, slow pulses, a moaning melody that echoed across oceans for miles. As the sample was exposed, the alien tissue convulsed, split, and disintegrated. Her heart skipped. She grabbed her tablet and opened her secure line to Commander Stone. In the mountain bunker, Stone watched the footage in silence while Blue stood beside him, eyes glowing with curiosity. "They're biological ships," Wells explained via a holocall. "Living metal. Their entire structure resonates at certain frequencies, just like living cells. Like a singer shattering a glass," Stone muttered. "Exactly. And whale calls, the right ones vibrate their bioalloy at a destructive resonance." Blue leaned forward. "This is unprecedented. The Council has fought the swarm for centuries. We never considered sound." "That's because," Wells said with a wry smile, "you don't have whales." Stone's mind was already racing. How do we weaponize this? Wells didn't hesitate. "We'll need massive speakers, bigger than anything ever built. And we need to broadcast at precise frequencies, exact matches for the swarm's resonance spectrum." She hesitated. "It's crazy, but it might work." Stone turned to his operations officer. "Pull every stadium blueprint on Earth. I want sound systems, concert halls, power grids, every asset." Wells added, "We'll need acousticians, sound engineers, marine biologists, rock band techs, anyone who understands wave behavior." "You'll have them," Stone promised. This time Earth sings back. Days passed in a blur. Wembley Stadium in London, Yankee Stadium in New York, Beijing's Bird's Nest, Rio's Maracanã. All were converted not into fortresses, but into weapons of resonance. Giant subsonic speakers replaced seating. Power generators roared to life. Drone fleets hovered above to amplify and synchronize output. Blue's tech allowed fine-tuning at the molecular level. The whole world's stadiums, arenas, open-air concert venues was about to become the swarm's worst nightmare. At Wembley, Chief Engineer Marcus Thompson stood amidst a sea of workers mounting speakers the size of trucks. Power conduits ran like veins through the stadium. On his tablet, glowing green checkmarks lit up: New York 90% complete, Tokyo 93%, Johannesburg 89%. Blue approached, marveling at the transformation. "You're making remarkable progress." Thompson smiled. "Amazing what we can do when we stop fighting each other." He pointed to a group nearby. "That team's from 5 countries. 2 of them were enemies just 3 weeks ago. Now they're designing resonance harmonics together." Elsewhere, a former roadie from a metal band taught Russian defense contractors how to boost decibel output. In Brazil, a gospel choir provided voice samples for low-frequency mod testing. Humanity wasn't just uniting, it was creating. Back in the lab, Wells ran final resonance tests. A janitor, a former concert sound tech, leaned in during coffee break and said, "You're thinking too big. You don't need to build new speakers. Just retrofit what already exists." That idea would save critical days. Instead of building from scratch, humanity converted existing systems. They didn't reinvent the wheel. They tuned it. The modified systems could produce frequencies no human could hear, but that swarm vessels couldn't survive. Stone and Wells reviewed the defense grid overlay. "How many per city?" he asked. "Minimum of 3, Wells said. Like a surround sound system. They have to overlap or gaps in the field will let ships through." A tech sprinted into the room. "Sir, update from Moscow. The cold air increases range by 30%. They've used wind tunnels to boost sound projection." Stone grinned. Share that upgrade globally. This was how humanity won, not with superior tech, but with adaptability, chaos, and creativity. Then came the bad news. Blue received a secret message from his remaining council contacts. "The swarm knows we wounded them," he said grimly. "They're returning, and sooner than expected. Less than 10 days. Across the planet, construction crews worked around the clock. Children held lights at night so engineers could keep going. Strangers delivered food to tired volunteers. Families sent loved ones to build sound arrays, not bunkers." Blue watched in awe. "I don't understand," he said to Thompson one night. "How do you keep going?" Thompson tightened, a bolt sweat dripping from his forehead. "Because we have to. Our families, our world. This is what humans do. We build hope with our hands, with our music, with our lives." Above them, massive speakers pointed toward the sky, waiting. Soon Earth's oceans would speak, and the stars would hear their roar. The sound of resistance. They came at dawn, again. Thousands of swarm ships descended from orbit, blotting out the early sun like a cloud of black thunder. The Queen's ship hovered behind, immense and silent, its surface pulsing with dark light, the embodiment of annihilation. But this time Earth was ready. In the Global Command Center, Commander Stone stood before a wall of screens. His voice rang out across encrypted global frequencies. "All stations, status report. London ready, New York ready, Tokyo ready, Mumbai standing by, Moscow online." From every continent came the same answer. 217 modified stadiums, arms synced and aimed skyward. Blue watched the tactical display from beside Stone. They're forming attack formations, same as last time, grouped over major cities. Predictable. Stone cracked his knuckles. "They think they know us now. That's their mistake." He pressed the red-lit command switch and spoke calmly. "All stations, prepare to fire on my mark. You'll only get one shot before they adapt. Make it count." Outside, the swarm ships screamed toward their targets. Inside stadiums and control bunkers, engineers held their breath. Then Stone gave the order. Fire. Across Earth, music was weaponized. The frequencies were too high for human ears, but the effect was immediate. Over Paris, swarm ships convulsed mid-air, their hulls vibrating violently before exploding into molten shards. In Tokyo, a Queen-class behemoth cracked in two as the sound waves tore through its living metal. In Lagos, hundreds of drones broadcast harmonics that collapsed an entire wing of the invasion fleet. The sky became a graveyard of falling debris. "Direct hits," yelled Engineer Thompson from London. "Frequency match is perfect." The swarm reeled but quickly retaliated. "The larger ships are adapting," Blue warned, watching the Queen vessels begin to shift molecular structure. "They're mutating." "They've seen frequency A," said Wells. "Switch to B." The secondary wave of sound was deployed, a backup frequency engineered from a different species of whale. The result? Even more devastating. The swarm ships attempting to resist the first note shattered under the second. Explosions lit up the sky like an angry dawn. Entire cities erupted in cheers. Civilians wept openly in the streets. But then, silence. Not victory, a shift. The Queen ship, still intact, still watching, still waiting. "She's powering something," Blue said, voice suddenly strained. "It's an energy weapon. Large scale, capable of wiping out entire cities at once." "Can our sound reach her?" Stone asked. Blue shook his head. "She's too high, out of the dome's resonance zone." "Then we bring the music to her." Stone turned to Wells. "Can we mount the device on Blue's shuttle?" Wells ran the numbers in her head. "Yes, but someone would need to get close, point blank." "I'll fly it," Stone said without hesitation. Blue stepped forward, not alone. Minutes later, the modified alien shuttle launched into the burning sky, two figures aboard, one Terran and one not. In the cargo bay, a portable sonic generator, the size of a truck, pulsing with contained frequency energy. As they neared the Queen ship, debris drifted around them. Shattered swarm husks, dead drones burning fragments of cities saved and lost. Inside the cockpit, Stone adjusted trajectory. "We hit her under the hull, right where her energy vents open." "You do realize," Blue said quietly, "this is a one-way flight if we get it wrong." Stone grinned. "Then we get it right." The Queen loomed ahead, a writhing biomechanical mountain in the sky. In the control center, Wells tracked them. "The Queen's charging sequence is at 87%. You have less than 2 minutes." Stone counted down the distance, 50 meters, 30. The moment came. Now, the sonic generator activated, a full-frequency blast tuned to the Queen's core resonance. The sound pulsed outward like a tidal wave smashing into the Queen's hull. It screamed. not in the sound and vibration. Its body spasmed. The energy weapon it had been charging overloaded. Fire erupted from its seams as it began to implode. "Get us out of here," Stone shouted. Blue yanked the shuttle into a steep dive as the Queen detonated behind them a sunburst of twisted metal and collapsing tissue. A shockwave ripped through the air. And just like that, it was over. Above Earth, the remaining swarm ships began to fall from the sky. Without the Queen's guidance, their hive mind collapsed. Some simply froze in midair. Others crashed into oceans, fields, empty highways. Not a single one fought back. On the ground, the people of Earth stared upward in stunned silence, then cheered. Not just one country, all of them, together. Humanity had sung its victory. The last note, 1 month after the sky stopped burning, the Galactic Council finally arrived. Their fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, symmetrical, disciplined, massive. Dozens of ships, sleek and silver, radiated advanced design and untouchable elegance. But they were late. They had come to find a broken world. Instead, they found something impossible. Earth was still standing. Cities were scarred, yes. Forests burned. Oceans roiled. But life pulsed through every wound. Rebuilding had already begun. And floating above the planet, the skeletal remains of the swarm fleet drifted silently, proof of what had happened. In the United Nations Assembly Hall, hastily rebuilt, but humming with defiant energy, Commander Nathaniel Stone stood tall in his scorched uniform waiting. Beside him was Blue, now clad in ceremonial silver, representing no longer the Council, but Earth. The Council delegation entered. They were alien in every possible way. Some shimmered like clouds of Kim. Others walked on hands. One seemed to hover inside a living bubble of plasma. And yet they all paused at the threshold, eyes fixed on the humans who had done the unthinkable. At the center stood the head counselor, a being of crystalline facets, light refracting from its body like a prism of stars. In 10,000 years, it said, voice resonating through translation spheres, no Preontier world has ever repelled a full swarm incursion. Yet Earth has succeeded in just 2 months. Stone said nothing. He didn't need to. The crystalline being turned to Blue. Observer Blue, you broke our laws. You revealed your presence, shared technology, intervened. The penalty is exile. The hall grew still. Blue did not flinch. I stand by my actions, he said. If I am to be exiled, so be it, but I will not regret saving them. A moment passed. Then the counselor spoke again. Your disobedience has led to the greatest victory in our history. Whispers rippled through the alien delegation. More importantly, the counselor continued, you've shown us that our laws may be outdated. We failed to see the potential of species like yours. Commander Stone. Dr. Wells stepped forward. It wasn't just about weapons, it was about creativity, collaboration. We mixed whale songs with particle physics, stadium speakers with alien tech. We won because we combined the best of what we are and who we're willing to become. The counselor turned slowly. You turned entertainment venues into defense grids, emotions into strength, chaos into strategy. Engineer Thompson, seated nearby, added, because when you're staring down extinction, borders don't matter, ideas do. Blue raised his voice. That's why I broke your laws. Humanity doesn't just adapt, they transform. They think differently, they feel differently, and when they're cornered, they build hope. The council stood in silence. Then the counselor spoke once more. Earth will be offered full membership in the Galactic Council effective immediately. The room burst into stunned reactions. Some humans gasped, others clapped. One delegate from another species released what sounded like a burst of fireworks in celebration. Stone simply nodded, we accept. But he stepped forward with a request. The counselor tilted its angular head, a request. Review your laws about Preontier civilizations. There may be others out there like us, ones who deserve a warning, a chance to fight for themselves. You nearly left us to die in the dark. Blue saved more than Earth that day. He saved your integrity. A long silence followed. Then agreed. The laws will be reviewed and revised. An observer Blue, the counselor, added, turning to the silver figure, you are no longer under judgment. You are hereby appointed Earth's permanent liaison to the council. For the first time, Blue seemed speechless. The humans in the hall erupted into applause. Stone clapped slowly, firmly. Wells smiled through tears. When the noise settled, Blue walked up beside Stone and looked out the massive glass window of the assembly hall. The Earth hung outside, battered, scarred, but alive. Beautiful. So Blue said softly, what do humans do now? Stone didn't hesitate. What we always do, he said. We learn, we grow, we explore, and maybe we find more impossible problems to solve. Above them in the silent void, the stars shimmered, and for the first time they shimmered with Earth's song. Humanity's triumph. In the weeks following Earth's induction into the Galactic Council, the universe changed. Once labeled primitive humans now found themselves at the center of attention, not because of their technology, but because of their imagination. Their absurd, illogical, and somehow deadly effective imagination. And it started with a simple question asked by a crystalline admiral of the Council fleet during a private tour of Wembley Stadium. Tell me again, what exactly is a whale? Wells, now Earth's lead scientific envoy, smiled as she played the recording. A haunting, low-frequency moan rippled through the chamber's speakers. It was a sound evolved over millions of years, traveling through oceans, and now through space. Whales, she said, are marine mammals, ancient, peaceful, but their communication, it's powerful. Reverberates across oceans. We discovered their calls could dismantle the swarm's biology. Sound was always here. We just had to listen. The Admiral stood silent for a long moment, then softly remarkable. Soon after, Council research vessels were dispatched to Earth's oceans, not to mine, not to conquer, but to learn. Whale song libraries were built in orbital archives. Musicologists from species with no ears studied acoustic warfare. A race of light-based entities known as the Ziva asked for front-row access to Earth's sonic anomalies. Stone, watching it all unfold from the UN headquarters, sipped his coffee and shook his head. We used to be the ones begging for scraps of knowledge. Now we're hosting war concerts. Blue chuckled beside him. You are not what we expected. No species in Council history has ever weaponized art. Wait until you see what we can do with jazz, Stone said. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, word spread fast. Worlds that had long lived in fear of the swarm now looked to Earth. Some broadcast messages of support, others asked for aid. But more and more, they asked for training. And so for the first time in a recorded history, humanity began teaching the galaxy how to fight back. Wells led a scientific exchange with species from the Outer Rim, helping them retrofit stadiums into sonic arrays. African sound engineers co-hosted workshops with aquatic civilizations on multi-layered bass waves. K-pop producers of all people were recruited to consult on rhythm-based resonance weapons. Even holographic simulations of legendary Earth concerts, Woodstock Live Aid Queen, at Wembley were studied as case material in psychological resilience and crowd energy manipulation. The galaxy didn't just want Earth's weapons. It wanted Earth's soul. Still, it wasn't all celebration. Swarm remnants remained fragmented, scattered, unpredictable. Small hives attacked vulnerable colonies along the galactic edges. But now those colonies weren't helpless. They had Earth's frequency. In one battle over the planet Virelia, a once vulnerable farming World Council ships deployed a sonic cannon built using Earth schematics. As the cannon fired, playing a combination of humpback whale tones and synthesized frequencies, a cluster of swarm ships imploded mid-flight without a single shot being fired. The footage was broadcast across 1,000 systems. Humanity had become a legend. Back on Earth, Stone met with representatives from a dozen alien worlds in a converted opera house in Vienna, now functioning as Earth's diplomatic reception hall. Each delegate rose in turn. The insectoid Varlan offered a gift of crystalline harmonics. The energy-based Kalai offered neural symphonies transcribed into light. Even the Ark's Dominion, once Earth's most vocal doubter, requested Earth's assistance in protecting their frontier. Wells leaned towards Stone. This isn't diplomacy anymore, it's a movement. He nodded. We gave them something they didn't expect. Hope, she asked. Stone looked up toward the ceiling, painted like a galaxy, studded with real stars captured in holographic motion. No, he said. A reason to believe that survival isn't about strength, it's about imagination. In orbit, a monument was erected. A hybrid structure, part human, part council design. At its center stood a statue of a whale cast in black obsidian, suspended in a rotating field of sound. Around it, names of every major city that fought during the swarm invasion were etched into galactic stone. On its base, one phrase in all known languages: where there's life, there's song. And yet, despite the accolades, the peace, the rising influence, Stone remained grounded. He still woke at a 500, still reviewed military readiness reports, still trained new officers from alien species, because he knew peace was earned but never permanent. One night, as the stars twinkled outside his office window, he asked Blue, You think the galaxy will ever stop seeing us as unpredictable? Blue smiled. I hope not. Stone laughed. What? Because it's the unpredictability, Blue said, that makes you terrifying and brilliant. A message pinged on Stone's screen, a new distress signal. Remote sector, unknown threat, unusual biological readings. Stone cracked his neck and stood. Well then, he said, let's go teach the stars another song. New dawn, the shuttle glided silently through the void. Inside, Commander Nathaniel Stone stood at the viewport, arms folded behind his back, watching the light of a distant sun crest over the gas giant Veritas. Its golden rings shimmered against the blackness, casting shadows across the fleet, assembled nearby, a formation not of conquest, but of curiosity. The fleet wasn't just Terran. Ships from across the galaxy now bore Earth's insignia beside their own, a symbol of unity forged not by treaties or tribute, but by sound waves, survival, and the strangest war the stars had ever seen. A soft chime echoed through the bridge, a communication. Commander Stone came the voice of Dr. Evelyn Wells from the newly established orbital research station. You'll want to see this. Stone turned as a hologram materialized before him, blue lines forming an irregular biological shape. What am I looking at? It's not swarm, Wells said. It's older, organic, but different, and it's responding to our sonic probes. Blue, now clad in an Earth-designed diplomatic uniform, stepped beside Stone. They heard us, he whispered. Stone stared at the display, a new signal, a new pattern, a new mystery, and this time humanity wouldn't face it alone. Back on Earth, the world was no longer what it had been. A network of orbital relays connected the planet to council systems. First contact academies replaced some military bases, now training alien cadets in human tactics, creativity, and acoustic warfare. Children learned math and music side by side, understanding that both could shape reality. Concerts were now strategic simulations. Opera houses doubled as sonic labs. Even the Olympics had returned, now featuring competitors from other worlds. Earth had become what no one had predicted, a lighthouse of innovation. The Council too had changed. Their chambers, once echoed with cold logic and distant law, now voices carried with more weight and more warmth. New laws were passed, early contact protocols revised, Prion status civilizations to be monitored not by technological tiers alone, but by their cultural resilience and adaptive potential. The human clause, as it came to be known, had one simple principle: never underestimate the untested. At the edge of the known galaxy, an old council listening station received a signal. Rhythmic, non-random, organic. It was whale song, but reversed, filtered through static, transformed, echoing back with subtle harmonic differences. A message. Wells sat bolt upright in her orbital lab, eyes wide. Someone out there is answering us. Within hours, every listening array on Earth was tuned in, every satellite focused, and slowly the message decoded. We heard your storm. We remember the silence. We thought you were gone. It wasn't the swarm. It was something else. Ancient, lost, maybe forgotten. Stone stood before a global assembly the next morning, flanked by council leaders and alien allies. We don't know what's out there, but we've been called, not by enemies, not by conquerors, but by someone who listened. He looked into the sea of faces, human and otherwise. And we're going to answer. The ESS Resonance, Earth's first deep exploration vessel, designed jointly by Council engineers and Terran dreamers, launched at sunrise. Its hull shimmered with reflective plating tuned to bounce sonic pulses across light years. In its core, a living sound library of every known whalebird storm and human voice, a sonic gift for the galaxy. On board were explorers, scientists, poets, musicians. Soldiers too, just in case. Not for war, but for protection of hope. Commander Stone led them with Blue at his side. Before departure, a final message was broadcast. To the stars who heard our music, we are coming not as conquerors, but as companions. Let our song meet yours. Let us make a symphony of survival. The galaxy listened, and this time it sang back. Far from Earth, in a corner of space where no chart had ever reached, a ripple spread through dark matter. Not destructive, not chaotic, but rhythmic, measured, a beat. The pulse of a new era. And behind it, the most unpredictable, most defiant, most beautifully human force the stars had ever known was coming.